Well, you know, Ron Paul is not expected to sweep any states tonight, but for those who love him and are rabid about him, it really doesn't seem to matter because despite the single digits at the polls, eye-popping digits raised. I'm talking about money. Don Luskin counts those digits, and he counts votes as well, and he's counting both with me right now. Don, good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Don, it's always interesting, but I always have a feeling, especially when it comes to very credible, sort of outside the mainstream candidates, that if people thought of them as not outside the mainstream, they'd vote for them. But the one thing that always hurts Ron Paul is, the guy doesn't have a chance, so why waste my vote? How do you get around that?
You know, you just have to somehow get people just to listen to the very sensible core ideas that this man has. And the problem is they don't fit into any of the typical media templates for the definition of what is a liberal, what is a conservative, what is a Democrat, what is a Republican. He's a great kind of crossover hit. He's drawing support from people with open minds coming from both parties. He's more anti-war than any Democrat, and he's more anti-tax than any Republican. You know, get that to fit in your brain, mainstream media.
No, I don't. I think there's something to it, but he clicks, obviously, when it comes to people who want to give him money, even when his votes don't register. In fact, if anything, he gets more attention. In the most recent quarter, you know, it was $17 million. But I read something interesting on that among the high-tech community, employees of major high-tech companies, he leads everybody, from Google employees, Microsoft employees, Verizon employees, Cisco employees, high-tech Army personnel, Navy personnel, Air Force personnel. He's raking it in. Yeah, I don't see it in votes. What's the deal?
Well, it is remarkable. He's raised more in any one single day than any other presidential candidate in American history during primary season. It was $6 million. It's absolutely amazing. Yes, he raises more from Google than anybody else. He also raises more from active armed services people than anybody else. It's just amazing how his message reaches out and touches people in all walks of life if they just listen.
So the armed forces thing is weird if you consider his position. Take the troops, get them out of Iraq, get them out of the Middle East. Don't these police forces we don't need. You would think that would not jibe with their thinking, but according to these tens of thousands who have given money, I guess it does. But Don, I guess the question going forward is, I don't know where you guys are spending all that money. I don't see a lot of Ron Paul commercials. I do see a lot of Ron Paul signs, and the signs don't look to be any jazzier than Hillary Clinton or Mitt Romney signs. So where's all this money going that you're getting?
Well, you know, it takes a lot when you're not a mainstream candidate, and when often you're not invited to the big debates. You've got to get out there and carry the message yourself. You can't just sit on top of, you can't free ride on the party infrastructure like the mainstream machine candidates can do. So you've got to build that roadway yourself just before you put your foot down on it. So he's been spending the money very wisely, and that's why, while others have dropped out, others with big names, guys like John Edwards, guys like Rudolph Giuliani, Ron Paul is still there. All
right, so let me ask you, Don, and I asked Ron Paul himself about this some time ago. You know, they do kind of push him to the side in the party, and he's sort of treated like the crazy uncle. And I'm wondering whether there's bad will on his part toward whoever gets the Republican nomination, and maybe he tries a third candidate run. What has he told you?
Oh, I don't have any information on that that's any different than you have. All I will say is that of all the candidates, Dr. Paul is unique in that at least he has an option to do a third-party run in a way that other candidates don't.
Well, would you, Don, as his money guy, would you, regardless of his views, would you recommend it? Would you say, look, you know, you've got a credible campaign, you raise a credible amount of money, you're a bridge between the right and the left, all those things you alluded to at the outset, that he run as a third-party candidate?
You know enough from being in the media as long as you have that the most interesting question you can ask me is the one that I'm going to be most hesitant to answer. And you believe me, you're asking.
But Don, I know you're also tired. I know you're tired, and you might say something stupid. So this is your moment.
I'll tell you this. On Election Day, Ron Paul is getting my vote if I have to write him in. I hope he goes all the way, somehow, some way.
Okay, so that's your way of saying you're not ruling things in or out.
No smart person rules anything out, Neil.
Okay, Don, always a pleasure to see you. Don Luskin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ron Paul, the candidate.
Thank you.
Raising more money than anyone, it seems, maybe say Barack Obama. Incredible.